Whenever you're ready.
Okay, my name is Ryan, and today we're going to be debating the major policy claim of the United States should discontinue the use of drone strikes in the Middle East to combat terrorism. I will support this policy with 3 points. 1, drone strikes kill innocent civilians. 2, drone strikes create more terrorists than they kill. And 3, the U.S. sets a bad precedent for the use of drone strikes for other countries. So, on to my first point. Drone strikes kill innocent civilians. According to the data sheets from the Bureau of Investigative Journalism, 558 to 1,250 confirmed civilians were killed by drone strikes from 2002 to 2015, with the last drone strike actually being several days ago, on the 24th. Percentage-wise, this turns out to be around 12 to 35%. And the reason for this discrepancy in percentage is because the U.S. seems to make many mistakes in regards to civilians, and they make civilians seem like combatants, as discussed by Mika Zonko from the Center for Preventative Action at the Council on Foreign Relations. He states that a campaign of airstrikes intended to kill specific high-value targets, named Operation Haymaker, had during a 5-month stretch ending in February 2013 resulted in no more than 35 jackpots, a term used to signal neutralization of a specific targeted individual, while more than 200 people were declared EKIA, or enemy killed in action. This implies that the unintentional killing of military-aged males while targeting a specific individual, known as signature strikes, for non-battlefield counterterrorism operations, was also a routine practice in Afghanistan. Now, on to my second point. Drones create more terrorists. Drone strikes have a negative effect on foreign civilians. The man who used to oversee these drone strike operations, former General Stanley McChrystal, states, "What scares me about drone strikes is how they are perceived around the world. The resentment created by American use of unmanned strikes is much greater than the average American appreciates. They are hated on a visceral level, even by people who've never seen one or seen the effects of one." This is supported by the journalist Sudarshan Raghavan from the Washington Post, who also states that in 2009, when President Obama was first known to have authorized a missile strike on Yemen, U.S. officials said that there were no more than 300 core A2AP, or Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, members. That number has grown in recent years to 700 or more in 2012. But there aren't just insurgents in the Middle East. There are also many cases of U.S. citizens who are uneasy about drone strikes. Some can take a more radical approach than others. One example is Faisal Shahzad, or the Times Square bomber, who states, "I want to plead guilty, and I'm going to plead guilty 100 times forward, because until the hour the U.S. pulls its forces from Iraq and Afghanistan and stops the drone strikes in Somalia and Yemen and in Pakistan and stops the occupation of Muslim lands and stops Somalia and stops killing the Muslims and stops reporting Muslims to its government, we will be attacking the U.S. and I plead guilty to that." Now, on to my third point. The U.S. sets a bad precedent for the use of drone strikes for other countries. The U.S. does not solidify the connection of their targets and opposing terrorist organizations. As stated by the Stanford International Human Rights and Conflict Resolution Clinic and Global Justice Clinic at the NYU School of Law, simply being suspected of some connection to a militant organization, or under the current administration's apparent definition, simply being a male of military age in an area where militant organizations are believed to operate is not alone sufficient to make someone a purposeful target for killing. And the U.S. does not abide by this, as shown through the article at BBC News, which states that Amnesty International USA said it reviewed 9 recent drone strikes in North Waziristan and found a number of victims were unarmed. In a separate report, looking at 6 U.S. attacks in Yemen, Human Rights Watch says 2 of them were killed civilians at random, violated international law. And the U.S. tries to cover up these facts, but they don't own up to it. So, as stated by the investigation by NBC News, About 1 of every 4 of those killed by drone in Pakistan between September 3rd, 2010 and October 30th, 2011 were classified as other militants, documenting details. The other militants label was used when the CIA could not determine the affiliation of those killed, prompting questions about how the agency can conclude they were a threat to U.S. national security. And as such, through the discontinuation of drone strikes in the Middle East, it is possible to either wholly prevent these problems or mitigate them to such an extent that smaller scale actions could be used to resolve them both quickly and effectively. Therefore, the United States should discontinue the use of drone strikes in the Middle East to combat terrorism.